Welcome back to Las Vegas. It's Alex Belfield visiting old friends Rick Moonen. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing today?
Hey, listen, it's always nice coming to the Mandalay Bay, and RM Seafood is one of my favourite places for lunch and dinner. You know how to do it, don't you?
Well, you know, I've been focused on seafood for 25 years. I've been in the food industry for 35, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart. You know, I get excited when fish come into season. You know, May 16th, Copper River King Salmon. I'm already posting it on Facebook, getting people excited about it, and sort of through food, educating people a little bit about the mentality of how we consume ocean products and getting more comfortable trying other things that maybe they hadn't, realized could be so delicious.
Well, also, you were one of the first people who pointed out to me how we need to protect our wildlife and our fish because they're overfishing in some places and underfishing in others, and then you completely avoiding fish that are perfectly edible and beautiful and then over-farming others. So it's a strange industry, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's very complicated, and there's a lot, so it's fear factor. People just say, well, I'm comfortable with 5 species of fish, and that's what I'm going to eat, and if I don't see it on the menu, I'll order a hamburger. Okay, I get that, but we can't do that because 2/3 of our globe is covered in water. We have to treat it better, and there's tons of biomass out there that's absolutely delicious, and we're concerned about our health. All right, eat lower on the food chain. Ooh, no, that's too fishy. Well, that's where the chefs step in. So we got to bridge that gap, dissolve that catch-22, and treat our environment better, and all be healthy and happy.
Why do I keep seeing you on Oprah Winfrey?
I don't know. I think it's Gail and I got a little thing going on. I can't really mention that.
I mean, the thing is, you're one of those personality chefs that's got something to say, and you make your food exciting because these days it seems like putting a good plate of food in front of someone isn't enough. You've got to have a nice place to do it and a chef that's got something to say.
You know, how I like to describe my food is honest. It's honest food. It's just real good, sourced out. I know where my food comes from. It's my job to. And I make sure that it's seasonal and it's delicious and it's simple and the protein is, put up on a pedestal and left alone so you can enjoy the flavor of it. And, the garnishes are all about seasonality and fun. This isn't anything new. I'm not that big a genius. I just make it a full-time job.
You say that, but actually I send back a lot of scallops. It's one of my favorite things in the world. Today, all you've done is put it in a pan and turn it over. Beautiful. Why do people keep chucking sauce all over this stuff and flavoring it with this, that, and the other thing?
I don't know. A scallop is perfect out of the shell. I mean, raw. A bay scallop. The small scallops are so sweet. I don't even know why we cook them. But the larger scallops, the sea scallops, there's a little bit more of a texture issue. You just can't overcook it. And you have to get a good scallop. You have to understand that scallops historically are put into this solution, this tripolyphosphate. And the scallop absorbs that liquid, it preserves it. So like you're a scalloper, wow, we're selling liquid. We're selling water because up to 30% of that scallop could be liquid by law. And that's ridiculous. And then you put that scallop, which is a mussel, into a pan. The mussel contracts. All this liquid comes rushing out into the pan. You can't caramelize it, and you're missing out. And you're consuming something you didn't want in the first place. But the scallopers aren't going to change because everybody keeps buying everything I can pull out of the ocean and put into this solution, and I sell it all. Why do I change? Well, that's where chefs step in and go, we don't want that. We want this. We'll pay more. And we want that. Ooh, then people have to be willing to pay a little bit more for something better. It's a process in the world of scallops that has happened in my lifetime, and it needs to happen more in other arenas. We just have to keep moving that bar further and further.
I know just down the passageway there you've got the shark reef, but there aren't that many fish swimming around Las Vegas. How difficult is it sourcing your products?
Well, it's not all that difficult. I'm very close to the West Coast. What people don't realize is that Las Vegas is closer to more organic farms than LA.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And certainly from San Francisco. We're right over the border from California, a stone's throw from the Pacific Ocean. And airplanes are landing and trucks are driving in every single day. So it's not that difficult. And of course, I've got 25 years of a reputation and connections and stone crabs and stuff from the East Coast, etc. So for me, it's not that hard. For the average consumer in Middle America, I'm hoping to change that as well.
Did this type of cooking choose you, or did you choose it?
It chose me. It really did. I was at the Water Club in New York City, and in 1994, I went to a restaurant called Oceana. And this is a restaurant that was not recognized, a small brownstone on 54th Street in Manhattan. Came on board, and my career went in a direction where I got a lot of notoriety. Celebrity chef status was was coming into my world. I didn't go to school for that. I had to learn quickly, how to communicate. I started my own little social network back in the day when it was just fax machines. That was that was a big deal, right? There was no cell phones and social media and all that. So I created my own, and my career took off. And I got typecasted while I was at Oceana, a seafood restaurant. And I was already going to the Fulton Fish Market, but I was also going to the meat market, and I was always going to the produce markets, and I was learning everything I possibly could and never have stopped. And so there it became fish-centric. I got involved in some campaigns to help save swordfish and other things, and I became an environmentalist and an activist and every other ist, But at the end of the day, I just love making people happy, serving honest food.
And I noticed, sat here enjoying my lunch this afternoon, there you were, being a sex symbol to two very, very gorgeous young ladies who, well, they frankly thought you were delicious, didn't they?
Well, there's a couple of pretty hot girls from Austin that really wanted a picture with me. There are definitely some great flaws. And chefs work hard. They really do.
I noticed as you were eating lunch and taking photos with pretty blondes.
I can't be judged for that moment, I paid my dues, standing behind the stove, sweating, cutting, 12-hour days were like, oh, great, only a half day. That was always the joke.
Is this the dream where your name's above the door and you can take responsibility for everything that comes out of the kitchen?
Absolutely. This is absolutely my dream. I walk in, I pinch myself every day. I got a gorgeous restaurant. There's so many moving parts. We got an amazing sushi bar. We got a raw bar with all fresh clams, oysters, shrimp, lobsters crawling in a tank, and a cafe open 7 days a week, lunch and dinner with banquet menus as well. And then, there's another layer. That's not enough for me. My ADD needs more. So I got to open up another kitchen and a fine dining restaurant upstairs, really exalting and showing off and doing some fun stuff, playing around with food. And that's what we do.
How do you find people then who care as much as you do and are going to take as much pride in the kitchen as you would if you were cooking it yourself?
There's a lot of chefs out there that do that. And most of them, it's funny. Most of them didn't even go to culinary school. Most of them were mentored in restaurants that chefs just also were mentored by somebody that were mentored by somebody. And I'm one of those people. I worked under a chef called Eugene Bernard. When he was younger, he worked under a gentleman named Ferdinand Point. Ferdinand Point had a restaurant called La Pyramide in France, the best restaurant in the world, unreputed. And he worked with as an apprentice, and I worked under him, and he kicked my butt. But I got the love, I got the respect, the understanding, a little bit of business sense. I'm now a businessman, right? Well, I don't know jack about that. I stumbled through it, and I learned by making mistakes. How I've learned everything, so it's okay.
It's also become very cool. You were in the business, as you say, years before it was trendy to have your own restaurant. There seems to be a lot falling by the wayside who think they can open up a 400-seater restaurant and put half-ass food on the menu and nobody ends up coming.
That's such a pity. It really, really is. Cooking great food is not that difficult. And I always tell my staff, what differentiates you from a good to a great restaurant are a few small details. And it's the truth. Taking care of people's happiness from the moment they walk in your restaurant to the moment they walk out. Because that's what you're doing. Because the only thing we really create are memories. The next day, it's all gone. You take nothing away with you. That little doggy bag or whatever, maybe. But other than that, it's a memory. So just make sure that memory is something that people want to talk about.
So what's most important then? Is it the visual of the plate? Is it the surroundings? Is it the chef? Is it the lady who greets you at the door? What is the most important thing?
It's a formula that has to be felt out every day. It's really a balance of all of those things. I'm not such an egoist that I'd say it's obviously the food. Yeah, you eat with your eyes, you smell, if you can touch on every sense, the sound of the restaurant, the smell of the restaurant, the flavors that go in your mouth, the textures, the crunches, the different things that go on, then you're delivering that memory that I just described to you, And then you take care of people's happiness. They didn't even have to ask and you brought share plates because you saw that people were passing plates back and forth. You don't walk up to the table and go, do you want some share plates? No, you bring them to them and say, here you go. Let me make sure you're happy. Show that 3 or 4 times, remember their name, and you got them.
So you've got to be a step ahead, basically. You've got to be psychic, kind of working out what they're going to want next.
Pretty much. But there's no set formula to people's happiness. You never know. Somebody just lost $800 at the craps table. They're not real happy. But you can make them happy. Right. Can figure it out.
This was my next question, because this is a unique place, different to LA or New York or Chicago, that people are in various moods. They're either rushed going to a show, coming out of a show, as you say, they could have just lost 10 grand and come here for a dinner. Does that affect how you run your business? Because you've got to be aware that people have got other agendas other than food in Las Vegas.
Well, now I think you're onto something. I think now maybe you're going to figure out why I have so many moving parts. We can accommodate that rush. We can accommodate that I want it all. You want a full blown out tasting menu that you're going to remember for the rest of your life? We got that. You want a quick sushi roll? We got that. You want a dozen oysters? Bing. You know, whatever you want, we can customize your dining experience at RM Seafood to your moment.
And I suppose we can call you a celebrity chef. I don't like the word celebrity because it kind of condescends, and it's people who haven't got talent. You clearly have, but that does draw in other celebrities, people who want to be seen in your restaurant. Is that always a thrill when there's somebody well known in?
Of course, it always is. But you know, I'm not a stargazer. There's so many people that come up to me, and so many times people come up to me and the kids say, "You know who's out there?" I'm like, "No, who?" And they blast out a name, and well, he runs the Dallas Cowboys. I'm like, cool. I don't know. You know, I'm busy cooking. You know, I mean. So we all have our points of interest, and people that come in, and I meet them all. I greet them all. I treat everybody exactly the same. You know, and that's the personality. And you know, restaurants have to have a personality. I've got a general manager that's gregarious as hell, from New York, like myself. We understand each other. We call the shots, and we just make sure people are happy. Sometimes people get a little bit, ooh, that's too much for me, and then we back off.
Rick, it's always nice seeing you. Thank you for lunch. It was absolutely tremendous. The chowder was beautiful, the scallops delicious, all of it beautifully cooked. For my final request before I go is I was going to say, could we have a photo together? But I'm not blonde and beautiful, am I?
You're kind of sexy. Don't give yourself some credit, buddy.
Hey, Rick Moonen, thanks for talking to us.
You bet.